everybody knew we got here. Like when we got here in July,
Wow.
every neighbor were like, who are you? Who are you related to? How did you get here? Like, what are you doing in this little town? So people have been embracing us and helping us kind of figure out the ins and outs of fixing up the house. And my husband was gifted like a typical Galician hat, like a lovely community.
Hi, I'm Kim Tolson and I'm the traveling therapist. It's my passion to teach therapists how to navigate online private practices and multiple income streams so they can travel the world. I'm a digital nomad with a virtual insurance-based private therapy practice and a multi-six-figure coaching business. I'm obsessed with entrepreneurship and developing tools that can help therapists live an adventurous lifestyle. In this podcast, I will discuss my journey as a digital nomad. I'll chat with other traveling therapists and help you navigate the complexities of running an online insurance-based practice. I'm so glad to have you with me on this journey.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Traveling Therapist Podcast. I'm really excited today to have Jessica Taylor Vara here with us. She's a traveling therapist living in Spain and seeing clients back in California and Florida. I cannot wait to hear this story. So, Jessica, I'd love if you would introduce yourself and just give us a little background about how you went from being a traditional therapist to a traveling therapist, and then we'll just take it from there.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. What a great idea. Like I was telling you, I'm Jessica. I am, like you said, I'm a fully certified EMDR therapist in California and Florida. And I was practicing in the typical kind of private practice setting in California for about 4 or 5 years when COVID hit. And I then realized that, the therapy that I was doing in person, I was forced to do it virtually, but that it worked just as well, that my clients were forced to, but kind of had to find the sense of safety and wherewithal kind of in their daily lives versus in the therapy room. And from there, it kind of happened. I watched, while home in lockdown, my husband and I watched The Mediterranean Life, which is all about kind of Americans leaving their lives in America and going to Europe. And we realized this is possible, right? Like all my work is online and my clients are benefiting just as much, right? Like we can do this. And that's kind of how it started.
Oh, that's so exciting. Yes. Yeah, I remember when I went all online because I'm trained in EMDR too. And that was my biggest concern. Like, how's this EMDR going to translate, online over video? How am I going to do the reps, bilateral reps and all that stuff? So I was certainly concerned about that. But after you do it a few times, you realize it's fine. It still works so many pretty well.
Sources. Yeah, absolutely. And right, there's all the different websites, bilateral base and remote EMDR that kind of offer the bilateral sound effects and also the images. So it works just as well.
Yeah. And for my clients anyway, being in their own home is even safer sometimes feeling than being in our office with us,
Exactly. And they're kind of forced to find that therapeutic safe space in their own homes quicker than they would if they had to come into the office.
Yeah. I love that. Thanks for sharing about that too. That's an important topic.
Yeah.
So how did you end up in Spain? Tell us where you are. And I want to know everything.
Okay. So originally I was born and raised in New Jersey.
Okay.
And my family's a bit unique because my grandparents on my dad's side came straight from Spain in the 60s. So we kind of always had this home base here in Spain. And we had visited this home a couple of times before, but I'm currently living in my great-grandparents' home in Spain. So I kind of grew up in New Jersey. I studied abroad during college, ended up in California, set up my practice, found my career, found my husband, and now I brought everything back to Spain.
Wow. I love that. That's amazing. So what part of Spain is this house in?
Yes. So we are in Galicia. So we went from kind of busy, bustling life in California with all the traditional things. And now we are in a tiny little town in Galicia, Spain. So we are kind of most northwestern Spain above Portugal. And coincidentally, I have the fastest internet I've ever had in my entire life in this stone home that we're living in, which is kind of funny.
That is funny. So it makes it super easy to see your clients and do the online work. Yeah.
Yeah, I never have any kind of fails with my session as far as the internet goes. Weather in Spain in this part is very kind of intense during the winter months, so it's been raining a lot.
Oh,
So recently I have lost electric once or twice, but thankfully not during sessions, but we'll see what the rest of the year brings.
yeah. How long have you been there?
Only 4 months.
Oh,
Only
wow.
4 months. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a whirlwind and I'm really grateful for it, right? Kind of you have your day-to-day stuff that you're doing and your own stressors I had back in California. And then kind of it's different stressors here, but life is a lot slower paced and we get to just focus on different things.
Yeah. What's the size of the town and the culture there? I'm just curious to hear about it.
Yeah, it's a very kind of close-knit town in that it's small. It's small. It's really small. So like our little neighborhood that we're in, there are maybe like 50 homes spread
Yeah.
over, I don't know the size and everything, but everybody knew we got here. Like when we got here in July,
Wow.
every neighbor were like, who are you? Who are you related to? How did you get here? Like, what are you doing in this little town? So very people have been embracing us and helping us kind of figure out the ins and outs of fixing up the house. And my husband was gifted like a typical Galician hat, like a lovely community. Yeah. And we're right on the water. So there's a lot of kind of marine life and seafood, tons of seafood. And we're just here in kind of rural Galicia.
That is amazing. Yeah. So what happened that you decided to go? I mean, did the house open up or was it the house just there and you decided, you know what, we've got this house and let's go. I'm just curious like how that all happened for you guys. So
Yeah,
really
the house has been in the family for years. So my great grandparents bought it sometime before 1920s.
wow.
The listings here, the records don't even go back that far.
Wow.
And once they passed kind of in the late 90s, nobody's kind of lived here. So when we got here, it was a lot of kind of fixing things up and learning the culture and how workers work. And yeah, it's kind of just an additional thing that we're focusing on, fixing up the house as we go.
That's amazing. Yeah. So did you guys have a house back in California? Did you have to downsize and get rid of stuff or how was that process for you?
Yeah, we were renting in California, but I mean, once you choose to live the traveling therapist life, right, a lot of things happen. Definitely trying to recycle and resell as many of our things as possible was part of the moving process, and then packing everything up and getting everything that we brought from California to Spain. And I really enjoy that process of moving, of kind of needing to reflect on like what's important, what do I really need? Because you realize that like you have all of this stuff that you accumulate over the years.
Yeah.
And then really like we brought 12 boxes and that was it.
That's amazing.
We shipped it over to Europe.
Yeah. And just got rid of everything else, or are you keeping stuff in a storage unit, or how are you?
Yeah, we did some garage sales. We used Facebook Marketplace a lot to sell a bunch of the things, and the rest we kind of just donated and got rid of.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, we're still holding on to a storage unit with a bunch of stuff in it that I mean, we don't need any of it. It's been almost a year since we've been doing this digital nomad thing. And I posted in the Facebook group the other day, I was like, you guys, how do I get rid of a storage unit when I'm not there? All my stuff's there. We don't need it anymore. We don't even care about what's in there. So it's definitely a process trying to figure out how to manage all this. Yeah.
It is. It's a process, and it's such a unique experience in that I think, right, as Americans in the society we grew up, we learn like one type of life you're supposed to have, right? You're supposed to grow up and you're supposed to go to college and get married and have kids and buy a house and like that's it.
Yes.
So then choosing to do it differently, it's right, you have to kind of figure it out along the way, but you also kind of find your people that get it and want to do the same thing and then have the insights and the guidance and you don't feel so alone in it.
Yeah, I love that. So was your husband totally on board with this, or how did he navigate that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, my husband, bless his soul, since we've been together almost 8 years now, since day one, it's kind of been the pipeline dream to kind of move to Spain. And we didn't really know how it was going to happen. And kind of like I said before, like during COVID, we were watching the show and realized like, oh, wow, like this can actually happen. And then we were both on board. And in some points, he was more excited than I was. I was more stressed. And then sometimes it flipped and I was the one encouraging him. And together we're here.
That's amazing. We're finding that too. It's like, as soon as I'm like, oh, this is too stressful, he's like, no, it's fun. We're having so much fun. And then when he's like having a tough day, I'm sort of the encourager. So I think it's kind of, it flows like that, because there are so many things you're just out of your comfort zone. It's just hard to really adjust to it all, I think. I mean, you guys have a stable residence. For us, it's like we move to a new place every time. And then it's like you have to readjust to it. So it's a little disruptive, like constantly, and then for you, like a whole new culture, you're probably just like totally readjusting to everything, I would think.
Yeah. It is. And part of, the thing that I miss the most is obviously the support of friends and family back home, but also there's an excitement in nowadays you can stay connected so easily with FaceTime and WhatsApp and all the video calls. And then you kind of create a new community that I found that through life, kind of different communities fit me at different times. And like, as I grow, my community changes. So I feel like it's just kind of another change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So how are you managing like taxes and banking and all of that stuff over there?
Yeah, that is part of the stressors. So my situation is a little unique because I have both passports, the American passport and the European passport.
Right.
But very soon, right, like Portugal right now is a really hot spot for traveling digital nomads because they have a lot of tax breaks and a lot of things happening in Portugal. But also Spain is passing it very soon, kind of this digital nomad tax break thing. So
nice.
How I'm handling it is I had to create my business here in Spain. So I pay taxes to Spain. And then I submit this form annually to the US proving that I've paid my taxes. And if you don't hit a certain amount of income, you don't have to pay any additional tax to the US.
Oh, nice.
So I've hired, they're called gestores here. They're kind of business accountants. And similar to in California, I submit my taxes every 3 months. And then from there, at the end of the year, we do the full annual tax thing.
Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah. Okay.
It has been tough figuring it out though, right? Because
I bet.
we are such a smaller population of digital nomads, of traveling therapists, that it was tough getting clear answers. And I think I'm doing it right for now, but if we check in a year, I'll really know for sure what's happening if I'm doing it right.
Yeah, it really is hard to find the answers. It definitely is. I have accountants and they're still not exactly sure, I don't think, because I'm in a different state all the time. And they finally said, there's a certain amount you have to make, like you said, in every state, have to pay taxes there. And, I'm not really meeting that threshold because we're moving around so much, but it is tough to figure out. Mm-hmm. So were you able to start a business there because you have the dual passports, or can anybody go to Spain and start a business like that? I'm just curious about that.
I'm pretty sure that because I have both passports, it was a little easier. Okay. But like I said, once they pass those rules about digital nomads in Spain, it'll be easier as an American to start a business in Spain.
Hey there, Lisa Mustard here. If you don't know me yet, I'm the person behind the scenes of the Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard, which is part of the Psychcraft network of podcasts. And I'm so proud to be a part of this network, along with Kim Tolson of the Traveling Therapist podcast and the great work she's doing to help people along their journeys. And if you haven't discovered the Therapy Show with Lisa Mustard, you can find me wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'd love for you to join me as I interview seasoned and knowledgeable talk therapists to glean valuable insights, techniques, and tools that you can apply to your practice and your life. Plus, some of my episodes qualify for continuing education contact hours. So be sure to check it all out over at lisamustard.com for all my episodes. Plus, you can get your first continuing education contact hour for free. So head on over to lisamustard.com.
Interesting. Okay. Okay, so the rules are basically around being able to start businesses and that sort of thing. Does it have to do with visas too, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I am not an expert in any of it.
I was gonna say, you don't have to worry about that part, I guess. Yeah.
Right.
Did your husband have to, or is he dual
No.
citizenship, I guess?
So part of the culture in Spain is things are run very differently. Administrative things are run very differently here than in the US, which is something we're getting used to. But we are wrapping up the process of getting his identity card for here. It's taken a while.
Wow. Oh my
But
gosh. Yeah.
yes.
How do you do that? I'm just curious.
For him, we had to register our marriage with the Spanish consulate and then bring papers to one location. It's kind of unlike anything I've ever experienced before. It's a lot of paperwork to figure out, but it's doable.
Yeah.
But for his specifically, we had to go drive an hour and a half away to one office, and then we got the thing wrong. So we had to go back again to that same office an hour and a half away. And then we had to wait for a piece of paper in the mail. And then once we got that paper, we could go to a different office and went to that office. It is an adventure. It is an adventure.
So did you guys just go and then you're figuring it out after you went, or did you do a lot of research beforehand to like get the business set up and all of that?
Yeah, we did pretty much everything that we could before we got here. And then the rest of it, we had to wait until we were here to do it.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So interesting.
Yes.
So how's it working with your clients? How's that going? Like the time zone difference, I guess. What is the difference with California? And you're doing California and Florida, so you're having to manage those two time zones.
California and Florida, and then there's no time change here in Europe. So when you guys have that time change, I think it's next week or the week after, it doesn't change for us. So right now I'm at a 9-hour difference between Spain and California. Wow. And then next week, the week after, it'll be 8 hours. So my clients are all kind of in California morning, right? 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. Florida would be like 10 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m. And then that's evening hours for here. So in Spain, there's a siesta. So there's lunch at 2, and then there's a siesta where like everything just shuts down in Spain until around 5 anyway. And then dinner is at 10. So luckily my schedule fits perfectly in there. So my clients are like 4 to 5 p.m. until like 9 or 10 at night. And then when I'm done, my husband has dinner ready and we have dinner and get ready for bed.
That's amazing. Yeah. What time do you go to bed there? I'm just curious.
It's a lot later.
Yeah.
In California, I was in bed by like 9:30, 10 o'clock. And here we're pushing like 12:30, 1 o'clock sometimes.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I remember when I was in Spain, like really everybody's going to dinner around 9, 10 o'clock at night. It's just the way it is. Yeah.
You can't even get dinner before like 8:30. Like no restaurants will serve you food.
Yeah. Isn't that wild? Because I mean, here it's like, okay, it's 6 o'clock. It's time for dinner, or whatever.
It's part of the fun. And being here, right? Lifestyle is so, the cost of living is so different that, right, we can so easily kind of travel and do what we want. And it's not even comparable for what we were paying in California for living, for health insurance, for car insurance, for all of the things versus here in Spain. It's incredible, the difference.
Wow. That's a great topic too. Health insurance. How are you guys managing that in Spain?
Yeah, so far, I mean, health insurance is included. It's public. So I've gone to all my normal checkups and everything and haven't had to pay a cent. It's all free.
Wow. Is that because you have the dual citizenship, or can anybody come to Spain and access that? Just curious about that.
I'm pretty sure it's anybody can come to Spain and access it. I know if there's like an emergency and you're a tourist, it's totally covered. For my husband, even though he doesn't have his paperwork figured out yet, like he can have insurance too. I think it's just universal.
Wow. Have you had to access the healthcare? I'm just curious, is it pretty accessible and, all of that stuff?
Yeah. So again, like really random and coincidentally, we're in this tiny little town and the medical center is like right across the street. So I went in, I set up my appointments, and the appointments were like 2 days later, and I had appointments, no problem. And then personal share, but we're planning to do a round of IVF out here for fertility stuff. And same thing, if we go through the public route, it'll be completely covered.
Wow, really? That's amazing.
We're in California. When we're researching it, it was going to be minimum like $15,000 to $20,000.
Oh yeah, minimum for sure.
Yeah.
I've had family members go through it. It's just so expensive. And then even storing the embryos and all of that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, that is amazing.
It's
How
really,
exciting.
there's definitely been its challenges, and so far it's been really amazing.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. Have there been like some big challenges you might caution people against, or words of advice around some of the tougher stuff you've come up against?
You know, I was thinking about this before, and it's really just kind of life stuff. Like, just have patience, have faith, take care of yourself, and right, kind of like expect the unexpected, in a way of like just kind of live in the moment, and like things are going to present itself, and then you kind of take care of it. And you take care of yourself to be able to then take care of it, because at points it can be pretty stressful.
Yeah, it definitely can, especially, you know, a new healthcare system, new banking, like everything is new. I guess for you, I know you've been there a few times when you're younger, I guess, but yeah, just going over and just learning all of that, it's super stressful.
It is, and it's really like the future goal of having just a slower paced, calmer, you know, healthier life, as far as more time in nature. We've been walking more than we've ever walked before, and more time together, and it just living in a different culture. It's just completely different.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. It sounds gorgeous too. I'm going to go Google it right after we get off of here. Like, where is this? I want to see where you're living. It sounds beautiful. I'm trying to think what else to ask you. Is there anything I haven't asked you about that's really important to know about moving to Spain, or, you know, just that somebody might want to know?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like business wise, right? Like, even though I set my business up here in Spain, I still need to kind of stick to all the license requirements of California and Florida. So keeping up with the CEUs, making sure all of my stuff is active and not expired, stuff like that. And with life being really virtual now, kind of post a couple years of COVID, you know, it's a lot of virtual options and virtual trainings, and it's easier to do everything online.
Yeah. And I'm guessing your board in California just says, as long as your client's physically located there, it's okay for you to be located anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. Yeah. Love that. Thank goodness if they ever change that, I don't know what we would do, but I'm so glad that these states allow us to do this. So some other things people always want to know about, like mail. Do you still have a mailing address in the United States? How are you managing that?
I have traveling mailbox for a lot of the things, but a lot of the other things you could just set up to an international address. Like for the California license, it's okay to have an international address.
Oh, nice.
For the insurance, we have it linked to the traveling address, but we had to get an insurance that allows international therapy.
You mean liability insurance? Is that what you're
liability insurance?
Yes.
Yeah. And then, you know, we still have our driver's license active, which are kind of linked to my in-laws' house. There's a lot of kind of finagling and figuring it out, but it's kind of diversified. We have some here, traveling mailbox.
Isn't it wild how we just, once we decide to do this stuff, we're just going to make it work, like figure it out, piece it together.
And like you said before, it's still so new, right? This idea of like being a digital nomad, being able to do such powerful work online. You know, a lot of the rules still maybe haven't caught up to kind of fitting perfectly. And you have to kind of, like you said, a lot of the accountants really don't know yet. And we're kind of in this really important transitional phase of having a more kind of virtual life.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so true. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to ask you about. I love the idea of living in Spain. That just seems amazing to me. You mentioned you get to travel. So are you guys traveling over into Europe and stuff, or just around Spain? Or I'm just curious how that's going.
So far, we've gone to Oktoberfest in Germany. We met my in-laws out there. And then we've been doing a little travel within Spain. And then I have a friend flying out from New Jersey. We're going to meet her in London for Christmas. Once you're in Europe, it's so much easier. There's so many options to travel with pretty cheap flights.
That's what I hear. Yeah, I bet that's so fun to be like, oh, let's go to Paris this weekend or whatever.
Yeah, and certain airlines, they have like $40 flights you can get from here to anywhere in Europe.
Wow.
It's so different than over in the US.
That is so cool. Yeah. Is that like commercial airlines or just like what I just wonder which airline that is or which airlines?
I've seen pretty cheap flights on Ryanair, which is a big one, but then also Vueling has pretty comparable economic flights. Yeah. And it's so special because you can just hop on a flight, and in the US where the cultures are all pretty similar, even though if you fly far enough, it'll be more diverse. Like you go from one country to the next and like they're so close together, but everything is so different.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so fun to me.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I'm trying to think, is there anything I didn't ask you about that you think people would want to know or that was surprising for you when you started this journey?
I think we've covered a lot of it, right? For some reason, want to focus more on that kind of support piece in that, or like, even though it's kind of scary and sad to leave the people you love or you live close to, right? Like you always kind of meet people that fit and that, share similar views and opinions. And even like meeting you today, it's a very special experience to choose to do something so scary, and then like other people have done it too. So there's that connection that happens.
Yeah, I love that. That's been one of the coolest parts of this, connecting to other people that are doing the same thing. Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'd love to just hear how it goes. Keep us updated.
For sure.
So if people want to reach out to you, if anybody wants to ask you about moving to Spain or anything, where could they reach you?
Yeah, so it's going to be in that bio that I send over, but it'll have my email address, my phone number, my website, and then something fun is a personal Instagram account that I've been keeping with my husband, and we've been posting little videos about our travels and our life here.
That. What's your,
so I added that
your
one too.
Instagram name?
Yeah, it's called Gringos in Galicia. So Gringos is like the term for white people here in Europe and the Latin community, and we're Gringos in Galicia.
I love that. I'm going to go follow you as soon as I get off of here. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much. I hope you have just so much fun, and with the IVF and all that, like, congratulations. That's exciting. And I can't wait to go look up where you're living so I can learn more about it.
Yeah, so nice to meet you. Look forward to staying connected for sure.
Me too. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you so much for listening to the Traveling Therapist podcast. For show notes, links, and downloads, head over to thetravelingtherapist.com, where you'll be able to learn more about my journey, the courses I've created for you, and other exciting resources to make your dreams become a reality. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your traveling therapist friends, subscribe to the podcast, and if you loved this episode, please leave a review.